Hey everyone, it's me, Yvonne Emil Elizondo from Silver Moon Astrology and Transpersonal Counseling, and I'm here today on Sunday, February 20th, because I have some interesting stuff to share about the astrology that I think we could see manifest here in the next, 2.5 years. And so I think it's pretty important to share. But before I get to that, I just want to say thank you all so much that have reached out in text. I did mention in my previous video, the full moon in Leo video, that I was experiencing some interesting heart-related symptoms, and I did end up in the emergency room twice in 1 week. I swear I thought I was having a heart attack, but was not a heart attack, and my heart actually looks pretty good from what the doctors tell me. So, but just in case, I did see a cardiologist, and guess who ended up with a heart monitor? Me. Right here, baby. I would show it to you, but that's kind of creepy, and we're not going to go in that direction. But yeah, at this point, I'm hoping that this is just anxiety that's gotten out of my ability to manage, which can happen. Been dealing with a lot of stressful stuff that I didn't realize was a lot of stressful stuff until a friend of mine just kind of mentioned it, and then the doctor kind of mentioned it, and then some other people mentioned it, and they're like, you should be stressed. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Apparently my heart is like, no, you are stressed. So we're going to wait and see. I'm sure this is going to be fine. But the astrology of this is really interesting because in my chart, and I did mention in that full moon video, the one that I wrote out with the Leo full moon, that Mars and Venus are playing this really intricate dance in the sky. And when these two get together, the Venus about the heart and Mars, passion, inflammation, or, agitation, it could either be a really passionate type of experience, or it could be an inflammatory type of experience. And I think in my chart, Venus is going for the inflammatory experience in my heart, literally. So not too worried about it, but always good to have things checked out, which is what we're doing. So thank you all for sending those really cool thoughts and blessings. So, okay, so let's move on to what is really interesting and why I'm here today. All right. So today, February the 20th, is the US natal Pluto return. Yes, so today the US is experiencing its Pluto return. So I'm going to explain what that means. I'm going to give you an idea of how that could potentially manifest. We've already started to see some manifestations of it, and it's going to be a very quick, not in-depth type of technical, explanation. I want to just admonish you and say that I'm not a political or an economic astrologer. I'm not going to tap into that part in this conversation, but I just want to show you the astrology and how it potentially manifests here in the next 2.5 years. So yes. I know what some of you are thinking. How in the heck does a country have a natal chart? Anything can have a natal chart. Pets, cars, countries, I mean, whatever, as long as we have a really good idea of the time of what we refer to as conception, which is a little weird, I know, but it's when it actually got started, or when it actually came into being, or whenever it was manifested. So the time of conception is, one of the terms that we use. But for the United States, the time of conception is a little tricky because we don't actually have historically documented, like, oh, this is the exact time of the, the conception of the United States, because it pertains to, what historians perceive as the conception. Some think it's July 3rd, close to midnight, right, when the actual declaration was almost, completed. Other historians think that it was around, 5 in the evening, when the founders were actually signing the document. And then some people think it's, later on in the evening, July 4th, when the entire process was completed. There was a consolidation of the signing of the declaration. And so there's various times historically And so the chart that I use is what is referred to as the Sibly chart. Okay, the US Sibley chart. Now, Sibly, gentlemen, I'm not going to give you the whole information on that. You can Google that. But essentially, historically, what he has done is that he has put together this historical interpretation and come up with the best time that we can use to determine the conception of the United States. And that time is 5:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on July 4th, 1776. So I am going to show you the chart and just very quickly give you an idea of what this could, how this could manifest, especially for the United States. So let me just show you the chart. Don't want to get too ahead of myself because I have a habit of doing that. Okay, this chart is not my program. Somehow I couldn't get my program to completely pull up the 1776 date. So I did have to download the chart, and this is from Astrodentist, and I can never pronounce it. Sounds like dentist, but it's not, but it's astro.com. So I want to make sure that I'm fully, giving them credit that this is not my chart. This belongs to them. You're more than welcome to look it up, but there it is, 5:10 p.m. July 4th, 1776. This is the Sibly chart. So let's take a look at what this means. So again, this is the birth of the United States. We have the United States is a Sagittarius rising. Imagine that, Sagittarius, that, knowledge-seeking, truth-oriented, justice-oriented, sign, not like Libra. Libra's air, Sagittarius is fire. It's constantly looking to achieve goals in the future. It is a progressive sign, obviously, because it's in the future. The United States is an Aquarius moon. How interesting is that? Aquarius moon, right? That's about also progressiveness, stepping outside the box. And I mean, if you just think about the reason that the reason that the pilgrims and the Puritans and the people from leaving Europe, especially under the throne of England, was because they wanted to step outside of those boundaries, right, that the throne was creating for them. So a little historical lesson there in case you didn't know, which all of you probably do. And we can determine that the United States is a Cancer. Yes, so the United States is a Sun Cancer, and so we do have that instinctiveness of that Cancer quality, right? It's protective in nature. It is nurturing. It is really wanting, it has a tendency of, stepping out and stepping in, stepping out and stepping in. What I mean by that is that emotional Cancer, energy, but that Sun in Cancer has that quality of protectiveness. And if you think about it, the United States has at some point in time, or at various points throughout time, I should say, become the protector, okay, of those qualities or those principles that the United States finds and important, right, or deems important. Okay, quick lesson there. Now let's talk about what's important today. So today we have the Pluto return. So in the Sibly chart, Pluto, natal Pluto, is at 27 degrees 33 minutes in Capricorn in the second house. Here we go, the second house of money. Yeah, money, finances, those things that we value. Okay, so the Pluto, what that means is that Pluto has, it takes about 248 years for Pluto to make a complete travel around the zodiac. But what it's done is that it is now back to the place, okay, where it originally started at the time that the United States was born. Okay, so that is the Pluto return. Now, this is why this is really important. So I'm not an economic astrologer, political astrologer, so I'm not going to tap into that, but I am just going to share some of the themes that we have already started experiencing and how they could potentially manifest here in the next 2.5 years. And then give you an idea of, what this all means. Okay, so let's start off with Pluto, because Pluto, if you have seen any of my, any of my previous videos, you know that Pluto is Pluto in the spot in the Sibly chart is hitting a sensitive spot in my chart. Different placements, but it's kind of doing the same thing. It's breaking everything down. Pluto is the world, is the god of the underworld. Okay, it's not a fun time when Pluto comes around. Pluto is not a time when you go, ooh, I'm so excited, Pluto's going to be here. No, Pluto usually, especially in hard aspects, okay, like a conjunction, coming back to the beginning, okay, it is a challenging type of experience. So if we have Pluto coming back, Pluto in square, Pluto in opposition, Pluto and quincunx, a lot of times, we're going to see these more difficult manifestations of the Pluto tendency. If Pluto is in a trine, that intensification can be more positively manifested, or in a sextile, but right now what we're dealing with in the Sibly chart is a conjunction. And so let's talk about Pluto, the underworld. Persephone, remember Persephone was kidnapped and taken down to the underworld, and she had to figure it out, and then she was allowed to come back up for some, come back up to the earth for some time, and living world, whatever. And so we have this whole tendency with Pluto of having to break things down. Okay, Pluto intensifies to, and it's like that. If any of your math majors, please forgive me, because I'm totally going to butcher this. Okay, but you know that little number where it says squared, and then you square it by like 50 billion other numbers? Yeah, and it makes everything like super intense mathematically. Yeah, that is Pluto. That's what Pluto does. It intensifies everything, or it creates this microscopic type of, tendency. But in either case, it's going to the extreme. And what's happening right now with Pluto is that Pluto is intensifying absolutely everything that it touches. So what's it doing in the United States, in the chart of the United States? Well, it lands in the second house of finances, those things that we value, right? In the second house, Pluto has Capricorn in there. Capricorn represents the government. It represents the economy. It represents finances. It represents the stock market. It represents interest rates. Anything financially oriented. That's what it represents in the United States chart, right? So it's our economy, basically, is what we're looking at. And Pluto in that place of the economy, we've been feeling this for the last 6 months. The United States is stepping into this more turbulent, and what I mean by turbulent, there's change, right? There's not stability necessarily in finances. We are seeing inflation. Okay, we are seeing the cost of goods and services and products significantly, increasing. And we're also seeing that people are no longer willing to work for that quote unquote minimum wage, right? $10 an hour, even $15 an hour is not cutting it for a lot of people anymore. They cannot sustain their finances on that level. And what are we seeing? We're seeing a breakdown of the supply chain system, because if people aren't willing to work for that amount, okay, you're not going to have people working. People are not going to get their goods and services. The availability is not going to be as readily available. You know what I mean? Okay, so we're having this breakdown of the economic factor in the United States. And yes, it's happening worldwide as well, but think about it. What tends to, impact the United States eventually kind of ripples out to the rest of the world anyways. So a lot of this is going to be an intensification of what we are already experiencing. Now, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, and I'm not trying to be negative as far as, this Pluto return, but it's not going to be a pretty time. I mean, we're not anticipating a pretty time. We are anticipating the shift in the economy to happen in order for that hierarchical, paradigm that the United States has created for itself, that has to break down to some extent, so that we can establish a new foundation and move forward with these new innovative ideas that are coming to the forefront, that hierarchical, governmental standard doesn't really either want us to experience or is not prepared for us to experience. One way or the other, the infrastructure is not quite there. And so we're starting to see this clash between the people and the government and the agencies and the economy. And we're starting to see this clash between people about how to handle all of these economic themes. This is Pluto return in Capricorn in the house of finances, economy, okay, and in the Sibly chart in the United States. Now, this also pertains to the value system. Now, the value system isn't just finances per se or the economy, it's what the people are valuing. What do you value in and of yourself as a collective nation? This is also shifting. We are shifting from, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this because I just purchased a 5.0 Mustang, which uses a lot of gas, but we're shifting from a very, fuel-oriented, economy nation to a more, economical oriented type of nation, right? We're seeing the changes. Just look, we had GT Mustangs that function on gas, 8 cylinders, yay, horsepower. And now we're seeing 4-cylinder Mustangs that are very fuel economically oriented, okay? And so you have this difference, and this is just one example. We're seeing this nationwide. So the value system of the United States is also changing. Now, what does this mean? Guys, it's not going to be easy. I mean, I wish I could say, yeah, this is something that we're just going to surpass. We're not. This is something that we're in it. We've already started to experience it. We're seeing the cost of goods go up. We're seeing, the minimum wage needing to go up as well, be increased as well. So this is going to be a time where we're going to have to be very careful about how we maneuver through not only financially, our finances, our personal finances, our professional finances, but also making sure emotionally that we're not tapping into the fear. Because I have to tell you, I tapped into the fear and it was not pretty. And I don't think that I have completely come back or recalibrated, as my cardiologist said, recalibrated from that anxiety that I felt once I tapped into the energy of the fear of what's going on economically. Okay. And I really feel that that's what's happening to my heart. Like it's been just kind of kaboomed, and it's trying to recalibrate because I tapped into the fear. And that's what I'm encouraging you not to do. Don't tap into the fear. Is it important to watch the news? If you need to watch the news, then be informed, but don't tap into the fear. Don't tap into the anxiety. Recognize that this is something that is going to pass. Make plans and adjustments and plan accordingly for the next 2.5 years so that you can sustain yourself and your family and your business, okay, during this time. That's what we need to do. We need to make plans for the future without necessarily taking risk. Now, am I giving you financial, advice? Nope, not doing that, not responsible for that, okay? But do I encourage you to see a financial planner? Yes, absolutely, right? This is a time when we want to be very, very cautious, with our finances, with our sense of value system, with how we're approaching the future, how we're tapping into that collective fear. Are we becoming informed? Are we becoming, separate? Or are we becoming unified? And right now we are separate as a people. And now I'm going on a rampage and I'm going to go ahead and stop now. But my point is, it can potentially become a more challenging time for some people. And that's what I wanted just to share with you. So if you're interested in learning more about this energy and how it could potentially impact you directly, okay, please reach out. All right, we can work through a consultation so you can get some more insight and maybe not tap into the fear as much, or maybe you need to, create some timing and some plans for, setting things in motion. Can also help you with that. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Yeah, this is an important one that's happening here in the United States. And if we tap into the vibe of collective unity, we are going to get so much further than if we work in silo. And I have been working in silo. And my BFF, beautiful BFF, who's been trying to keep me from walking off the ledge here, reminded me that it's all about energy, right? Like even me, I work with energy and sometimes I tap into the fear, and that's what we don't want to do. Be mindful, be kind, be loving, and be unified. All right, everyone, my heart monitor says, I love you. All right, take care, everyone. Blessed be.